On the 19th of October, scientists discovered a very interesting object hurtling through our solar system. It was spotted by the Pan-STARRS 1 telescope in Hawaii and named Oumuamua, I think that's how you say it, which apparently means scout, or messenger from afar arriving first, or reach out in advance, depending on who you talk to. To be honest, I don't think anyone outside Hawaii has a clue what it means. They first thought it was a comet, but it didn't have the characteristic coma of a comet. That's the surrounding cloud of gas created by heating from the sun. So then they thought, well, maybe it's an asteroid. But they calculated the speed and they realised that it was travelling far too fast to be an asteroid, because asteroids are in orbit around our sun. They're held by the sun's gravity. But like I say, Oumuamua was far too fast for it to possibly be an asteroid. From its speed and trajectory, scientists realised that Oumuamua was an interstellar object. That means an object from outside our solar system, interstellar, in between stars. It came from that dark nothingness far beyond Neptune and Pluto. And the fact that Oumuamua is an interstellar object is a really big deal because we've never seen one before. This is the first ever observed interstellar object. The scientists think that about one interstellar object a year passes through our solar system, but we've never spotted one because our telescopes haven't been good enough. But now they are, and we've finally seen one. So a whole bunch of the Earth's telescopes were pointed at it. Now, even to the Earth's most powerful telescopes, Oumuamua is just a point source of light. Scientists can't see what the shape is directly. So what they did was look at how the light reflected off it. And what they saw was this bright, dim repeating pattern. And they calculated from the degree of brightness and the degree of dimness that the shape of the object must be long and thin. And they worked out it's about 400 meters long by roughly 40 meters wide. So a 10-to-1 ratio, and that's roughly the size of the Empire State Building. Don't you think it's clever how scientists can tell the shape of an object just by looking at how light reflects off it? It's clever, right? And this is what started getting people really excited. The shape. It's 10 times longer than it is wide. So roughly something like that. No other object has ever been observed before with these dimensions. To date, the highest length to width ratio observed is roughly 3-to-1. So roughly something like that. So obviously, this led people to suggest maybe this thing is not naturally occurring. In other words,
aliens!
A spaceship. And it has been suggested that a good design for a spaceship would be this long, thin needle shape, because it would minimize friction between the spacecraft and the interstellar dust as it travels through space. So many scientists, including Stephen Hawking, have been studying Oumuamua for signs of life. They pointed radio telescopes at it and listened for electromagnetic signals. And what did they find? Nothing. Very, very disappointing, complete radio silence. Unfortunately, it seems that Oumuamua is probably not a spaceship. They could also tell from the bright, dim light reflection pattern that it's not actually travelling through space like this. What it's doing is tumbling. It's rotating as it goes like that. And again, that would suggest probably not a spaceship. Or is it? Because there are theories that say maybe it was a spaceship, or it still is a spaceship, but it's a derelict spaceship. In other words, a dead spaceship. Maybe it was moving like this at one point, but maybe its propulsion mechanism failed, or maybe it ran out of fuel. And if that happened, it would start tumbling at that point. Also, scientists have suggested that a good design for a spaceship would be to hollow out a lump of rock or an asteroid. And they're pretty convinced that, at least on its surface, Oumuamua is a rock. So building a spaceship from the inside out like this in a lump of rock would mean it has this outside layer protecting it from cosmic rays as it travelled through interstellar space. The general consensus, however, is that Oumuamua is a large lump of dense metal-rich rock. It's also got a reddish-brown appearance due to exposure to cosmic rays for millions of years as it's been tumbling through space. Its age and origin are unknown. Scientists think it's probably hundreds of millions of years old, and they actually think it also may have been circulating our galaxy, the Milky Way, multiple times. And it may have been created by a collision of some sort, or maybe a star exploding. Oumuamua entered the solar system at 26 kilometers per second from the direction of the star Vega in the constellation Lyra. However, it didn't come from Vega. What am I talking about? Okay, it's important to realize that Vega is 25 light years away. And at 26 kilometers per second, when Oumuamua was 25 light years away, that's about 300,000 years ago. And at that time, Vega wasn't in its current position. So don't go thinking that Oumuamua came from the star Vega like in the movie Contact. It travelled quite close to the Sun, and it hit the perihelion on the 9th of September. The perihelion is the point of closest approach to the Sun. And Oumuamua actually got 17% closer to the Sun than the planet Mercury, the nearest planet to the Sun. So at the perihelion, it was pretty close to the Sun. And it also, at the perihelion, hit a maximum speed of 88 kilometers per second. Now, the Sun's gravity acted like a slingshot and flung it out again in the direction of the constellation Pegasus, and that's where it's heading now. The closest Oumuamua got to the Earth was about 15 million miles, which is pretty close. Now, I know 15 million miles sounds like a lot, and it is, but in solar system terms, it's not that far. It's about 16% of the distance from Earth to the Sun, or about 85 times further away from the Earth than the Moon is. And we actually only spotted Oumuamua 5 days after its point of closest approach to the Earth. By now, mid to late December, it's actually become too faint to see by even our most powerful ground-based telescopes. Maybe Hubble, our best space telescope, can still see it, I don't know. But at this point, it's pretty much gone. It's going to head past Jupiter's orbit in May 2018, and it will go past Neptune in 2022. And that's the story of Oumuamua, a very interesting lump of rock, and sadly, not a spaceship. However, for the optimists among you, I do want to leave you with one thought. Do you believe in coincidence? Oumuamua is the first ever observed interstellar object. It's also the first ever object observed with a 10:1 aspect ratio. What is the probability of those two things occurring together? If that's a coincidence, then fine, it's a lump of rock. But if you don't believe in coincidence,